athlete too, what I tell them is you're going to have 100 different hitting guys coming up, and they're probably all going to tell you something different.
Yeah.
And when you get from your hitting guy, if you're taking lessons or whatever, and you go to your high school coach or whatever, if that high school coach is telling you something different, I tell them just, say, okay, you don't want to be like, oh, my hitting guy is telling me to do this. I'm not going to do what you're saying. Say, okay. And a lot of times you get in there and you do what works and you get the job done. The coach that told you to do something else is going to be like, see, I told you.
I told you. Yeah. And if you're not hitting, it's just crickets. You're not doing what he said.
That doesn't just happen at the high school level. That happens in minor league baseball.
Pro ball too.
Pro ball.
Guys,
It happens in baseball. It happens in softball too.
It happens everywhere.
I think softball's harder.
I think that's the other value though of working with guys is understanding the swing, to be able to hear a high school coach say something and say, okay, what's he trying to get me to do? I understand that, instead of taking that like, that's bullshit, I'm not doing it attitude.
Right.
Once you start to understand how the swing works, you can kind of listen to those people and get value out of it instead of turning it into a confrontation.
You say that my favorite thing all the time is it's a buffet line. Like
this keeps me healthy.
And I do that as a coach. Like that's my favorite thing.
That's good.
There's a lot of guys on social media. I don't agree with everything they're saying, but I agree with some things.
Yep.
So instead of me going, oh, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, I don't care if there's 100 things that I disagree with and he says one thing. Oh, cool. Even if it's just a different way to say the same thing, like having that many tools to be able to communicate it as a coach and then as a player, like, man, I never thought about it like that. Like, wow, that works different. Like that, and that's where the one thing. That's why I love doing this stuff together. Like being able to help each other, both help players and then be able to help each other as coaches. I don't understand the competition. Like, there's so many baseball players in this country.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty players for all of us as coaches. Like, why am I fighting with this dude about like, well, this is my guy or this is my
or my drill?
And that's what I see.
What you see too.
I see that like guys are like, well, this is my dude, and like then they get butthurt if he goes and hits with somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like, but if it's helping him, do it. Like, there's plenty of dudes. Like, who cares? Like, don't let your ego as a coach get in the way of you being able to help a player. Like, hey, and I'll admit it sometimes, and I'll call you on the phone, I'll call you too, but bro, I'm stuck. I don't know. But instead of me going, nah, I can fix this kid. Well, why would I do that when I could call him and send him video of the player, have them look at the kid, and maybe they see something because I'm watching this kid swing every day. It's over and over and over and over, and I start to lose things. Well, now they see something, boom, I hadn't even thought about. The next day, walk in the cage, hey, we're going to do this. Bang. Then they start to get better. It's like, well, that's me getting out of my own, like, why is it about me? It's not about me. It's about the kid.
Well, because people, what happens is they get, if you're not open-minded, if I'm not open-minded, if I think at any point that I know everything about hitting, and there are some guys out there that think they know everything about hitting, what happens is I'm living in a situation where, like, if I'm not open-minded to new ideas, then I completely stay stagnant. And because sharing information, right? It's like, if I'm not interested in networking with people and sharing like-minded ideas, that's how people actually grow. The only reason I don't want to tell him about a drill I'm doing is because I'm scared that I'm going to run out of information because it's my drill and I got to wrap it up and sell it to you. Because I'm not open-minded, I'm not willing to learn something new. You know what I mean? And that thing we're talking about kids saying opinions is that he can be too coachable. There is a situation where you guys go, hey man, you when your coach tells you to do something, you do it. Well, if C Breezy here, right, or Paulie Bunyan or Joey Badass or any of these guys in here do this, right? Like if they're looking for a girl, right, and you got a girlfriend or no?
Yeah, I got a girl.
You got a girl. Are you gonna marry her?
I don't know.
Put him on the spot.
You gotta pick it up. Hey, but check it out. So this guy, he's got a girlfriend, right? His mom, his boy, his hitting coach, his grandmother, everybody's got an opinion on his girl. Oh, I really like her. She's so sweet. And you're like, well, I'm just kind of like hanging out. She's just my girl. Like, well, you should marry her. You know, like somebody's always gonna have an opinion on what you're doing, but ultimately, you're the one that has to live with that decision. If I'm gonna listen to every single opinion of everybody, now they're all well intended. All those people might be some, but most people they're just seeing something that looks aesthetically pleasing to their eye, right? So if what I like in a hitter and what I value, or I have a certain swing, I like Dave Winfield. I don't know. I grew up watching Dave Winfield. He did a cool little shimmy. I like it, but if you don't like that type of swing, then you might not want a guy to swing like that if he emulates that type of guy. So that's why I said you just got to be real careful saying like just taking everybody's opinion and being like, yeah, like yes, everybody.
I'll personally admit, like you're talking about aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
One of my things, it's one of my pet peeves, and you guys have seen this in the lessons, is when a guy goes toe down early. Like for me personally, as a coach and the way I hit, I hate that.
You don't like it.
But if I see a kid that can go toe down early, still maintain rhythm, still get to a good center,
You
and
won't
he
coach him
rakes,
out, you won't coach him
no, I will have a conversation. So my favorite thing is as soon as I see a kid do that, and that's like the go-to high school coach, get your foot down early. It's the jab step quick, stuck, wait, let the ball get deep, whatever. And they either go push out of it or they spin. No matter what though, whether a kid's moving well or not moving well, when I see that, I'll come up and I'll go, hey, why do you do that? Most of the time, I don't know.
Yeah.
They have no idea. I'm like, so why are we doing something in our swing that we aren't aware of why we do it? No matter what, if they got a big leg kick, hey, why do you have that big leg kick? I don't know.
Don't know.
So before I try to change a guy, I want to ask them why they do things, because if the kid's like, well, when I get here, I feel like I can stay more controlled. It lets me see the ball better, and I want to make sure I get back to balance. I'm like, you keep doing that because you know what you're doing and it looks good. But it's like, well, my coach told me to do this so that I can be earlier. And I'm like, well, you're late every swing because you get your foot down early, you wait, and then the ball's right here, and then you try to hit it. Like,
Or
so,
you slide.
or you slide at it past the ball. Like, understand why we do it. So that's where, even if I don't like something, before the kid takes 5 or 6 swings, and now first time working with me, all right, I'm gonna change everything you do. Tell me about why you do what you do.
It's a good point. How's this? There was a video I put just to ask it, just for shits and giggles, to see if people really knew what they were doing. And I just took an old school, simple, basic drill of just side toss. And I was like, so I had this kid, Johnny Castagnazzi, come in, and this kid is a UNC commit, probably a top 5 round draft pick this year coming up right now. You'll see him 2020 shortstop from Long Island. And he's like in there, I'm like, over there. I'm like, all right. So I asked him, I'm like, why do we do side toss? Why do you do that drill? He's like, I don't know, like, and then, so I was like, really? I was like, so we talked about it, and then I was like, why I would do side toss or what I've been taught or what makes sense to me might not be the same reason somebody else does it, but we put like a ball like right here. And all that stuff we've been talking about the whole time with not getting too far out in front or being too, it's like, we want to make sure, like, if we had a pole, like, going through our top of our shoulder all the way out, like, into the ground, like, we stay on that pole, but at the point of contact, we had a ball, like, a visual right here, so that as he could see after he's finished, like, am I in front or behind the ball? It's basically just, is my head behind the baseball at contact in a good, strong position? And I asked, as a question, and I hardly ever do that I just put player highlights, but I said, does anybody know why we do soft toss, or like what does it do to help you? Dude, I got 278 comments, some of the wildest stuff you have ever heard in your life about just like random stuff that has to do with like, it's like vision, for vision. I'm like, yeah, but everything we do if we're not blind is for vision. they're like timing, like, yeah, any moving object like we're hitting is timing. So what particularly are we trying to understand in this drill? Most guys don't understand, because baseball players, from the time they're kids, this guy's doing static stretching over here before the game. Shit, man, I'll do it. Even though static stretching's for therapeutic rehab, it's not for like explosive movements. We're gonna be like, we're getting ready to move fast, but we're gonna like do like 1980, you know what I mean? Like that's not. But they see some other guy doing jumping jacks, and they're like looking at her like, all right, cool, me too. It's like you have to. That's why it's good to have a lot of information out there, but you gotta source it. You know what I mean? And you gotta say, just like if you're going to a personal trainer, and I tell guys all the time, it's like, I keep a real small group of guys of network around me that I can bounce questions like he's talking about. That shows like a lot of, for me, that's where it's at. It's like 3 or 4 dudes. If I have a question, I bounce it off of him. He sends it to the next guy, video sent back. Wait, you got that too, because you're willing to share information. If it's only like, hey man, this is my sandbox, right? Like I'm playing over here with my shit. You guys go on the other side. This is my sandbox. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that whole thing. It's like, I own this space over here of whatever. This drill is my drill. Not your drill. Every drill's a variation of another drill. Unless you're freaking Abner Doubleday or something. You're in 1903 and you're out there with a glove with 3 fingers or something, a cardboard. I don't know what the hell they used back then.
But that's right. I mean, like, I credit my success as a coach to the network of guys I have. Like, I didn't make any of this stuff up. Like, the stuff that I learned as a coach, I learned from somebody else. I didn't just sit in a cage and be like, that's what you're supposed to do in a swing. It was both experience as a player, both positive and negative, things I did right, things I didn't do right, and then having these guys around me, and then all of the other coaches and players I've been able to pull. Like, I didn't make this stuff up. All I'm doing is then communicating it back to the hitters.
You know what I like about your stuff, which really, when I watch it, and I can understand it because I feel like you're speaking from a visceral level, like when you're explaining it, like when you were playing. So it's almost like you're like breaking it down, what you're seeing in the player, and then you're going, what did that feel like to me? And then you're like explaining it from a visceral level.
Yeah.
And then it's like, to me, it's like, it makes a lot of sense, and I feel like they can grasp it a lot quicker.
That's what I try to go in my head, like, what did this feel like to me? What did I think about it? And then if my thought process on it doesn't sync up with the kid, then I want to make sure I've got 15 other ways to say the exact same thing, but it's still coming from a feel. And this is what it feels like. Is that I couldn't do anything else in this game. I could hit a baseball pretty hard, right? So even though I've had to relearn, like, hey, like, I could hit the ball hard, but it wasn't efficient against you guys throwing, 93-mile-an-hour sinkers that, now I can't adjust to. Like, okay, like, let's learn what it feels like, how to apply it, and then let's find a swing thought that creates that feel. So then it's simple. I don't need to know, we've seen all the awesome stuff at the convention, the K-Vest and the blast motion, all that. Like, that's awesome, okay? But I don't need to know all of those angles, right? I need to think this one thing when that guy's throwing that heater at me, and then I'm going to let everything else just go. So it's, when you teach from a feel standpoint, that's where the over-exaggerations come from.
Right.
That real versus feel. I'm going to teach you what it feels like instead of like what you're supposed to do. It's going to feel like something that may be a little weird. Fine. Like, let it go from there.